Welcome back to my home studio slash bedroom. Today is another installment of a series that I do where I break down the production of a piece of music that I've written, usually for film music gigs. And today's one of them. So hi, I'm Benny Debray. I'm a composer and a songwriter and a producer, and I have to make a lot of music I get to make a lot of music for short films, and recently my first feature film, which you'll hear a lot about later. So this is a Canadian-Korean short film that I scored about these families that have been divided when Korea became North Korea and South Korea, and some of them, through this program, the members of the family can meet in a room for one day during the year. The film is really slow-paced, documentary-like, almost abstract and artsy. It's really cool. And they had these two specific references. The first one is called Chatter by Luzine, and this is what it sounds like. Isn't that so cool? It's like loopy. The second one is this, Transfiguration by Jim Perkins. So both of these references have things in common, but they're also super different. Chatter has this really cyclical, regular rhythm that drives you forward. It's all basically just one chord. And then Transfiguration is a lot more atonal and all over the place and kind of takes you by surprise. So you've got this sort of high-pitched, happy, elated sort of driving melody that starts off really strong, like, it's happening, we're meeting with families. And then it slowly becomes almost sour, like it starts to fade in intensity and in volume. And then this really dramatic low bass sound that's super full and round and dark comes in. And you're like, oh, what's going on? And then it cuts and it just repeats. You get the happy melody again. And that was something that Ellen, the director, wanted to keep. So I had that in mind. Okay, so the first thing that I needed were some sounds. Can't make music without instruments. Woodwindy, fluty sounds that I was hearing in the main reference, Chatter. I have a flute, but I was like, no, I don't play it very well. So I wanted to get some synth flute sounds to make it easier. And also there is this sort of synthy vibe to that track. I couldn't figure it out. I think it's real recordings of actual woodwinds cut up and looped, and then they mess with the loops and add noise and stuff like that. I have no idea. So I went into Ableton and I typed in wind, wind instrument, and I found this perfect sound called basic wind lead. It's a bit synthy, but it's pretty good. It's very round and soft, but it has enough harmonics to sort of sound flute-like. I just layered that on a bunch of different tracks because it is monophonic, so you can't do chords. So I was like, no problem, I'll just duplicate the instrument, and that way we're good. I wanted to use that sound to build up the low energy. Oh yeah. And then I complemented that low, round sound with a sound that had a little bit more bite, and I found that in the Jupiter plugin that I have from Arturia. Jupe 8 it's called, and the setting is called Angel Valley. Hell yeah, it's got a little bit of tremolo. It sounds kind of hollow in a really nice way. I think it's got so much character, and it really sounds a lot like the sound from the reference. Yeah, totally. So with some layers of the basic synth and some layers of that Jupiter synth, I made the low end. So I have a bunch of stuff on the bus. I have some tape sounds It just has a bit of noise and some wobble. I have this reverb called Hallucinazione. Cool. And another thing of analog tape. So I really wanted to get that tape sound because I think that maybe they were made with tape, the original loops of the reference. Maybe not. And so it's like low, and then I have some melody notes played by the basic flute lead. Fantastic. And then at the end there was that like sound. Exactly like that. Kind of high-pitched, noisy, airy, dark, distorted. It's literally just the flute lead with a dirty tremolo, also just a stock Ableton plugin. Okay, so originally I had sent that with also a flute lead. And she replied and she was like, it sounds a bit too synthy and unnatural. And she's right. It was missing that sort of organic feel that the references have. So I was like, okay, how do I fix this? Well, this is where the second reference comes in. This is where I bring the strings in. So I just replaced that high melody woodwind line with pizzicato strings. Cool. So this is two instances of session strings 2. There are two different lines happening. This is the top line. Nope. This is the bottom line. So it's cool. I don't even know what pattern it's in, but it's not like a traditional 4/4. The top line, however, is traditionally just like repeating, just small chunks. So they sort of like disalign and then come back into an alignment later on as it goes through the cycle. It's cool. As you can see, I did a little cheat to make it sound cooler. I doubled the top line with a piano. It's the Arturia Piano V3, which I really like, the German one. It just adds some depth, some kind of like reverb. I don't know, it's cool, I like it. And there's even more reverb just on the bus. Together, it sounds like this. So after that I was like, okay, that's the main theme. We've got our melody, we've got our low end that sort of takes over as the song progresses. But it was a bit too brutal to start right on that, so I just did some more low end stuff at the beginning to sort of announce the song, the piece. Oh, and some plucks. Nice. Yeah, so that's the song. I guess it's just 4 instruments, really, but I layered several instances of each instrument, except for the piano, and some slightly different sounds for some of them. And then I just automated some of the panning and some of the noise to get more and less noise. I don't know, this was fun. It was tricky to line it up perfectly to the cuts, but that's the way it is. This is what I'm showing you is version 12. Like, this was such a mess to figure out. It's so funny because like when you show a finished song and you break it down, it seems so easy because you're like, yeah, so there's these 4 instruments and that's the concept and that's the harmony and that's the rhythm and now you have a song. But then when you're actually making it, you just have to start from a blank page, and you're like, God, where do I start? Sometimes it takes 12 tries. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I have scored a feature film, and we did so much cool music. There's jazz, there's Motown, there's classical, so I'm gonna make a bunch of videos about that, and I hope that you stick around if you want, and I hope to see you soon. Alright, bye!